Oh, it's been a little bit of a while. In fact, 6 months of a while. Once again, you gave me time to refresh, to renew, and yes, as I have fully intended the pun in times past, to rejuvenate. These past 6 months have not been easy ones for all of us. This past 15, 16 months have not been easy ones for all of us. Yet you gave me once again the opportunity to pray with countless congregations around the world over these many months. You gave me the opportunity to go back to school. I was at the Divinity School of the University of Chicago, albeit online, taking classes with brilliant professors and students much younger than me, including professors much younger than I am. Gave me the opportunity to be away during Pesach, and for the first time in, I don't know, almost half a decade, not to have to turn my entire house over at all. Once again, I am grateful for that opportunity, and to all of you, to our cantor, to our executive director, to our director of lifelong learning, of course, to Rabbi Borowski, to our entire staff, Michael and Cheryl and Debbie, who are with us here tonight, to each and every one of you for making this possible, particularly during these difficult days of the pandemic. Most profoundly, I still feel deep gratitude to be alive and to share that life with my family. And I offer thanks each and every day to God and to this congregation. So, as I quoted Dorothy Gale at the end of the first half of my sabbatical, and so with your permission, I'm going to quote her again. There's no place like home. Thank you. And we begin our service, whether you are with us here in person. This was always planned to be an outdoor service. We do it in the summer, the first Shabbat eve of every month. So it's good to be back home, literally right here too. And those of you who are joining us on Zoom or Facebook Live or YouTube, we welcome you also. We're going to be using our prayer books tonight. We're not going to be showing any slides. In fact, we're going to be transitioning to be doing services without all the slides coming up, even though we're going to continue on all these other platforms. You're still welcome to pick up a Siddur, and we're going to have the words, the prayers, and the pages online also. We're going to begin with Yidid Nefesh, Hearts Delight, Source of Mercy, Draw Your Servant into Your Arms. You'll find it on page 636.
Yedid nefesh al harachaman, Yedid nefesh al harachaman, Neshocham decha, Eretzonecha, Neshocham decha, Eretzonecha. Yaru
Back on page 124. May the doors of this congregation be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May they welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the doors of this congregation be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to straying or young feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this congregation be, for all who enter it, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life, as we welcome Shabbat L'Chadodi 138.
You'll notice that this melody is a little different from the ones we usually incorporate, as we have just passed Shabbat Shabbat Tammuz, which is the 17th of Tammuz, and it's leading in these next 3 weeks towards Tisha B'Av. We changed the melody of L'Chadodi, and it's a little more plaintive, and you'll hear that in some of the tunes throughout. But then it certainly you'll notice it the next couple of weeks with this particular tune. L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav. L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav. Amor zachor dibor echad, ishmi'anu elam yochad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'litira, L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav. L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, Vihi mekor ha'beracha, Merosh mikeren nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tefila, L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav. L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav. Itoreri, itoreri, Iva ore kumi ori, ori ori shidameri, Ivod Adonai alai minyan, L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav. L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav. Ohi v'shalom materet barav, Gam b'simcha u'b'tohara, Toch emuneh am segula. Ohi halam, halam, L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav. L'Chadodi likrat halav, enei Shabbat nekam lav.
Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence. Page 144.
יתגלה ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויאמר יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי,
וחייכון יום אחד וחייך בישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמרה במברך לעולם לימי המיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשם בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה ושפחתה ונחמתה תמירן בימה ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברכו את אדוני
Together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chochma poteach sha'arim uvitfuna mishane etim, umachalif et hazmanim misader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom u'mevi layla, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו לשוכבנו וקומנו נשיח בחוקך ונשמע בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגן יומם ולילה לאהבתך תשיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני ואהבת אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לידנו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדל את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. העמידנו שומרנו לחיים.
Spread over us the shelter of your peace, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporech sukat shalom aleinu, yal kol avo Yisrael, yal Yerushalayim.
ושמרו לעיני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת בדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל. לעולם לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. Ananan nanana donna, ananan nanana svatai tiftach, ananan nanana ufi yagi teilatecha, ananan nanana donna. Ananana svatai tiftach, ananana ufi agid eilatecha, ananana svatai tiftach, ananana ufi agid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים, אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Seated as I continue on page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yira na'avod. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of this earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh v'hodot.
Shalom Ra al Yisrael Amecha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Ra al Yisrael Amecha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom hashalom. V'tov einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומה, יעשה שלום עלינו, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
In the week to come, among those couples who will be observing their wedding anniversaries are Dale and Linda Chudnow, Lou and Bev Figus, Sarah and Bradley Commissar, Deborah and Peter Newman, Jeff and Beth Rappaport, Lori and Roberta Stein, and Ben and Becca Tables. Our God and God of the generations before us, we thank you for our sacred heritage of marriage and family life. Throughout history, marriage has been the firm foundation to our people when we were driven from place to place and when rest been settled. We praise you, God, for sanctifying your people Israel by the covenant of marriage. We thank you for the fullness of joy of those who are celebrating the anniversary of their wedding in this season. Their lives are blessed with the gift of loving comradeship and of devotion to each other. Their joys are heightened, their difficulties lightened as they face life together. May their companionship continue to bring them strength. May their home be hallowed by your divine guidance. May their lives continue to be enriched by affection and mutual respect. May they be blessed with peace and health and contentment. As together we all say, Amen. Amen. And again on page 371, not again, but on page 371. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those of our friends who are ill. Elliot Applebaum, Chazan, Sarah, Rachel, Bat Yocheved, Alexander, Moshe, Vivian Borkin, Marty Bryan, Joe Bryan, Sarah Bat Yosef Fela, Jackie Clinton, Caleb Calabroy, Melinda Stefanski Collins, Roman Draba, Vilana Miriam Bat, Douglas, Helen Eglish, David Ben Bora, Umendi, Rebecca Ensler, Mike Fedina, Louis Ferris, Annette Freebert, Devery Gold, Blaine Goldner, Leah Bat Chaiki Mordechai, Scott Grant, Michael Greenfield, Roz Halpern, Sam Hanna, Beth Gobich Harris, James Silk, Sandler Kaufman, Brew, Jenny Kingsbury, Laverne Colton, Seymour Colton, Herman Cron, Sheila Lenz Cron, Ed Knox, Jean Lauterbach, Ellen Levin, Ron Levin, Lori Lincoln, Paul Lysias, Steve Laduha, Asuncion Madrigal, Richard Stewart Margolis, Clarence McFall, Bobby Mendelson, Chelsea Minkoff, Vicki Mullen, Charlene Hughes, Yitzhak Ben Mendel Reuven, Sashton, Kelly Powell, Brian Quirk, Rita Resnick, Kim Rice, Jill Robinson, Svi Ben Osnova Yosef, Sasha Leah, Bat Belarina, the Kisriel, Zelma Schloss, Gershman, Ruben Siegert, Rubat, Irene Avraham, Bob Spengen, Marty Stein, Susie G. Stein, Leah Etta Bat Stisha, Sidney Schwartz, Batya Bat Sarah Avraham, Linda Tripp, Jenny Vergetis, Harav Chaim Ben Rachel Leah Tzfia Kohen, Burl Ben Lazer, Hannah Bat Chaim, Harav Ora Bat Leah Yaakov, Bat Sheva Bat Sarah Avraham, Reese Bat Bela Gittel, Nadiva Zayat Bat Ilana Uvinyamin Ber, Beryl Ben Miriam, Adina Yael, Shoshana Belit, Meir Ben Rachmiel, Meir ben Dina Varachmiel, Shoshana bat Shana bat Shoshana. And for those of you who are with us in person, to those names we add, if you have names. Ross. Ross, Jared Polachek. Ed Wilkinson. Liv Brennis. Mary McCormick. And for those of you who are joining us on all of the other platforms, please mention the names aloud too, because we are praying on their behalf. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored, their strength to be revived. May God send them swiftly a complete renewal of spirit and of body. And our hearts go out also to all those who have been injured or lost their lives in the collapse of the condo in Florida. As we all say,
Amen. מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find courage to make our life a blessing, and let us say Amen. שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Thousand in our healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of spirit, the renewal of body, and let us say
two Talmudic texts discuss what one has to do to become Jewish. In Yevamot 47a and b, the rabbis teach, if at the present time a person desires to become a proselyte, that person is to be addressed as follows. What reason have you for desiring to become a proselyte? Do you not know that the Jewish people at the present time are persecuted and oppressed, despised, harassed, and overcome by afflictions? And if that person replies, I know and yet am unworthy, that person is accepted forthwith and is given instruction in some of the minor and some of the major commandments. The other text is perhaps the more famous one from Shabbat 31a. It happened that a certain non-believer came before Shammai and said to him, make me a proselyte on condition that you teach me the whole Torah while I stand on one foot. Thereupon he repulsed the non-believer. With the builder's cubit, which was in his hand. When the same believer then came before Hillel, Hillel said, what is hateful to you, do not to your neighbor. That is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary thereof. Go and learn it. So, what is missing from both of those texts? That's my question to you. And believe it or not, thank you. There's nothing of belief in either of those texts, which is kind of surprising of it. To introduce monotheism to the world, and of one who wants to become a Jew, a child of Abraham and of Sarah, we're looking for ethical behavior. Wrote the French Jewish philosopher Emmanuel Levinas. I'm going to be quoting Levinas a lot because I studied a lot of Levinas while I was in school. Ethics is not the corollary of the vision of God. It is that very vision. As Levinas, the pious man, I'm using his language, which really is French, but he is using the gender-specific language. I apologize. I'm quoting him. So I guess I could say in my language, the pious person is the just person. And of course, what did Isaiah demand in chapter 1? Cease to do evil, learn to do good, devote yourselves to justice. You learn to do justice. Levinas suggests that this is found in what he calls the banal fact. Conversation. Speaking and hearing, person encounters the face of the other. We are from the breaching of the walls of Jerusalem, Shiva Sarba Tammuz, the 17th of the month of Tammuz, which last Sunday, which leads then to the destruction of the temple. That'll be on Tisha B'Av, which is
It ended up taking our whole day.
the day. It's in your service bulletins because we're having a service the night before.
It ruins the whole day.
Rabbinic Judaism had constructed a whole new
You're
world.
not watching the Brewers game?
I'm watching this
Everything we knew about
sermon. He just came back.
devotion to God involved
I
bringing
haven't seen him for
sacrifice
6 months.
to the
Hi.
people.
Oh,
To construct this new world, a world of dependence and responsibility. Each. So Yehuda Kurtzer, Shalom Institute,
3-1 Brewers.
of songs, Rob.
Win tonight or
Study Minion, we studied songs a long time ago, it seems, when I was here before I left on this part of the sabbatical. And Song of Songs Rabbah is the commentary to Song on Songs. It's a love poem, as we come to understand it between God and the Jewish people. So he used this text from Song of Songs Rabbah to reflect on the rabbi's creation of this new world. At the end of the persecution, our rabbis gathered at Usha, and these are they: Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nehemiah, Rabbi yeah. Constructed this replacement for the temple. Taking responsibility for the other became the Holy of Holies. That begins with listening to the other, seeing a trace of God in the face of the other. So a story I heard from Rabbi Jack Reamer, who found it, I got to give attribution. We always give B'Shem Omro. So this is a long attribution, guys. I heard from Rabbi Jack Reamer, who found it in an article by Michael Schwartz, who found it in a book by Pauline Meir called Ratification, which was really a big book. It came out in 2016, I think, which is based on much of the research done by UW-Madison's Center for the Study of the American Constitution, which is published a now 23-volume set of books. I haven't read them, entitled The Documentary History of the Ratification of the Constitution. Ratification here did not come easily. Fierce debates took place in each of the colonies, and the vote to join the new union was a slow and contentious one. New York seemed destined to oppose the union, which would have made a viable union, a viable nation, problematic. Its governor at the time, DeWitt Clinton, and no relation to our own DeWitt Clinton, was opposed, as were the majority of delegates. those favoring joining the Union, including, of course, Alexander Hamilton, suggested holding a grand parade in New York City to build support for the Union. A parade scheduled for July 22nd, 1788. And of course, the Articles for Ratification were in 1787. So this has been dragging on now for a while. Then with the entire parade scheduled to go, and it must have been going to be a big affair, right? With, I don't know, floats and marching bands, who knows, but it was going to be a big parade, okay? It was postponed for a day. Until recently, no one seemed to know why. As Pauline Maier went through all the documentary sources, she came across a letter that was sent to Nicholas Lowe. You can find him on Wikipedia, I'm sure, from one of his agents who wrote, and I'm quoting from the letter, "The procession has been postponed from the 22nd of July to the 23rd in order to give the Jews the opportunity to join in the festivities, the 22nd being one of their holidays." As Pauline Maier found another source, she found another source, a letter from one Adrian Banker, a silversmith and the son of the mayor of Albany, who wrote to his brother, and I'm quoting again, "I observe that the grand procession has been put off to the 23rd. I think this is a great compliment to the Jews," unquote. Now, the Jews of New York were not numerous in 1788, unlike today. Anybody want to guess how many Jews in 1788 there were perhaps in all of the colonies? Somewhere between, Dan? No, there were more than that. Somewhere between 2,500 and maybe 3,000 or 3,500. All right, and that's in all the colonies. All right. Well, we're talking 1788 here, Carol, so there really weren't any other at that point, okay? And yet, as Rabbi Reamer writes, and now I'm quoting him, at such a time when so much hung in the balance, imagine, you know, if New York isn't going to become part of this, how do you get from Virginia to, I don't know, Vermont, right? It kind of separates the whole thing, unlike Texas, which always wants to be a state unto itself, and we sometimes might wish it be. You know, you don't have to go from one state necessarily to another, but New York kind of separates half from half. And so he wrote, at such a time when so much hung in the balance, the people in charge voted to postpone the parade out of respect to the Jews and to their holiday. Now, any of you want to guess what holiday that was? Remember, this is July. It couldn't be Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. Those are the biggie ones. No, this was not even on a Saturday. Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, the holiday that the cantor mentioned that I talk about. The day that most Jews today don't even know takes place. For example, you know what you're supposed to do on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz? It's a minor fast day, not a major fast day. You don't fast 25 hours, you fast from sun up to sun down, okay? So this was the day when the Romans breached the walls of Jerusalem. The story for today, the story reflecting what the United States, in the midst of all the politics and the mistakes and the horrific wrongs, I believe still yearned to become. A land made up of people seeing the other, of people listening to the other, of people taking responsibility each for the other, of people ensuring religious freedom for all. And our parashah this week, our Torah portion, that of a guy named Pinchas, named after the grandson of Aaron, first priest, who in an act of great indignation, and also an act of great drama for all the people to see, slays an Israelite flaunting, shall we say, the moral code, if you will, with a woman from Midian. You want more of the graphics, you can look at the actual text, okay? Pinchas was a zealot, a man of impulse and hatred, one who took the law into his own hands, who believed that he alone could solve all problems. In fact, the Hasidic saying, this one I came across, it was passed on by Debbie Weissman. It was in a Devar Torah that I saw online from Rabbis for Human Rights. Teaches that while the preceding portions from Bamidbar, from the book of Numbers, Chukat and Balak, are sometimes read together, and then the next two portions, Matot and Maseh, are sometimes combined in 1 week. Pinchas is always read alone, all by itself. Pinchas is a zealot, and no one is willing to stand with him. So it is another shepherd who becomes our leader. I think Pinchas wanted it. One who is responsible to every other. In verses 15 to 19 of the 27th chapter of the Midbar of Numbers, we read, Moses spoke to the Eternal, saying, let the Eternal One, the source of the breath of all flesh, appoint someone over the community who shall go out before them and come in before them, who shall take them out and bring them in, so that the Eternal's community may not be like sheep that have no shepherd. Shepherd. That's the leader, one who cares and is responsible for every other. And the Eternal One answered Moses, singled out Joshua, son of Nun, an inspired individual, and lay your hand upon him. Have him stand before Eleazar the priest and before the whole community, and commission him in their sight. May you all have a healthy and joyous 4th of July, remembering what this country desires and wants to be, and continue to work for that. As we continue with Aleinu, you'll find it on page 586. If you can, wherever.
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים קדוש ברוך הוא שכונות השמיים ויעשה לנו מקרוב השמיים ושכינה תוזור וגובה מרומי
Joy, fullness of freedom and of peace.
ונאמר היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts turn now to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and of death. As we take a few moments to read silently any of the words you can find in the meditations on pages 592 through 597. for any words that may be on your hearts. As the names of your dear ones are mentioned, we invite you to rise in their loving memory as we remember the relatives and friends of our congregation who have gone before us into life eternal. We remember tonight the names of Ronna Kimmel, Edith Meldman, Joyce Kruglack, and Saul M. Spiro, who were laid to rest recently. We remember also the names of Betja Balter Biederman, Mildred Wilson Biller, Julia Buxbaum Bloom, Bernice Bootson, May Brickman, Doris Matris Cohn, Sheldon Dorff, Bernard E. Eglin, Elliot Adland Eisenberg, Eva Gertrude Albinger, Marvin M. Fine, David D. Feld, Louis Freebert, Herman Hamill, Min C. Hirsch, Maury Cash, Minnie P. Kaufman, Isidore Clafter, Maria Casali, Betty Lapidus, Samuel T. Larkey, Daniel Lee, Max Lieb, Jack D. Levin, Jean Laurie, Judith Mallon, John Daniel McCausland, Jeanette Meyer, Adolf L. Moritz, Rose Orenstein, Norman Klaus, Verna S. Pollock, David Rellen, Anna Richmond, Sylvia Rottenberg, Erich Samenfeld, Joseph E. Schulman, Marguerite H. Smith, Yefim Starek, Brian E. Stickler, Samuel J. Sweet, Ronald J. Sicoli, Armin Taus, Shelley Yusso, David Wald, Emily Weiler, Shelley Byrne Weinstein, Ernest Frederick Wilkinson, Philip P. Yullies, Bernard Zarni, David Zarni, and Edward I. Zion, whose anniversary of death is remembered tonight. If there are others here in mourning or observing yahrzeit, if you have a name to mention, please rise and do so. Sylvia Fagan, David Levin. We also remember those who perished in the Shoah who have no yahrzeit dates. We pray, may their souls be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May their repose be peace. As we now ask the congregation to join with those who mourn in the words of Kaddish, you'll find it on page 598. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shmei rabbah. V'alma divra kilute v'amlich malchute. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. V'agalal v'zman karib v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mivorach leolam mulam le'almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu. Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromah. V'ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens above send peace down here to us, to all Israel and to all the world. As together we all say, amen. You may be seated. Before we turn to our immediate past president for the real announcements, just a couple of quick announcements here. We are going to join together for Benchlik Kiddush and Motzi tonight. Were you going to say that? So I'm going to leave that to our immediate past president. We're just doing it a little bit differently. The one thing I want to say, it really is good to be home. Our synagogue is so beautiful, but on a day and an evening like this, we can really appreciate how beautiful the grounds are. I mean, it is just incredible. And with each year, it gets even more beautiful. So we thank God. We thank you too. Without Cheryl, Rickman, it just wouldn't be possible. But if you've never done it yet, you should take a walk around the water on the path all the way around. It is just stunning, and it's stunning to see how the sun garden has come in also in front. I think I can should I announce what we're going to do too with the, so on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, when we go outside to sound the shofar, they're all going to be hybrid this year. We're still trying to figure out how, but we are going to sound the shofar outside, but we're going to dedicate the sun garden too that afternoon. And my Retaxman is going to provide, in addition to our regular Kiddush, is going to make it extra special that day. So that's going to follow, which is second day of Rosh Hashanah, which is way too early. So it's like September 8th. Yes, way too early.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And I think I speak for all of us when I say we're thrilled to welcome you back, Rabbi Berkson, and we all look forward to sharing and learning more from you from your own learnings from the sabbatical. So, thank you for starting to share that with us this evening. Thank you also to our greeters, Tamara and John, and to our Facebook greeter, Amanda. Thank you to our Bima Basket sponsors, Susie and Bob Fono, Linda and David Fono, and Margie and David Gibson. Rabbi mentioned earlier about the tragedy of the collapse of the condominium in Florida, and this month, tzedakah deposit in the Saldorf tzedakah box will be going to the Greater Miami Jewish Federation, which has a fund set up to help those who were affected by this tragedy. If you are interested in learning how better to navigate our online learning page, our website, you can join with Susan Kazan on Wednesday, July 7th at 11 a.m. You can sign up on the website or through Manu email. There will be a play date in the park on Saturday, July 10th at 3:30 p.m. at Doctors Park. Of course, every week, every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, you can join with Dr. Sherry Blumberg for Women's Torah Study, and every Thursday at 12:30, join with Susan Cosden for Food for Our Soul, Parshat HaShavua in Our Lives. You can also join Susan on Sunday, July 25th to Find Your Passion. You can contact her for more information about that. As Rabbi mentioned, holidays are going to be early this year, and Women of Emmanuel can get you started. You can purchase honey through them to have a sweet new year. And of course, the Congregational High Holy Day card, you can support the Women of Emmanuel by adding your name to that. But while summer continues, you can join with Brotherhood for the family miniature golf outing on Sunday, July 11th at 10 a.m. at Missing Links, or for the Brewers outing on Sunday, August 22nd at American Family Field. And if you get there early enough, you can get a Ben Sheets bobblehead. And of course, expect to see everybody in person or online at the annual meeting on Thursday, August 12th at 6:30 p.m. A little later this year. Our next worship service will be tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., study minyan. And as Rav mentioned, Tisha B'Av service with Havdalah is on Saturday, July 17th at 7:30 p.m. And hopefully everyone will stick around as Carol Fisherman leads us in candlelighting, Kiddush, and Motzi. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And tomorrow will be the last time the minyan will be all virtual online. The following week, we're going to find some way that we're going to be back here in person and online. Our closing song is Yesh Marash Shabbat.
In a moment,
Oh, not yet?
just about. So
Okay.
just before our closing song, we want to have one more special song welcoming our rabbi back. And so we're very grateful that you're here and welcome you back after your sabbatical. Baruch haba tachat kanfei hashchina. Baruch haba tachat kanfei hashchina. May you be blessed beneath the wings of Shekhinah. Be blessed with love, with peace. May you be blessed beneath the wings of Shekhinah. Be blessed with love, be blessed with peace.
Our closing song, and we can all rise and hold on to the people who are next to you. And tonight, if there are faces you don't recognize, go meet them. See the trace of God in their face.
Yesh Merah, page 634. Yesh Merah, Yesh Meregi, Yesh Merah Shabbat, Yesh Meregi, Yodi Leolmeya, Eno Beni, La 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 La, Yodi Leolmeya, Eno Beni, Yesh Merah Shabbat, Yesh Meregi, Yesh Merah Shabbat, Yesh Meregi, Yodi Leolmeya, Eno Beni, La 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 La, Yodi Leolmeya, Eno Beni.
Adonai Oz Le'emo Yitain. Adonai Yivarech et all, always the most precious, the gift of shalom, of peace. Shalom. Good job.
Some of that. Yeah. Oh. It's gonna be hard. I'm gonna be way over there. Good. Yeah. I don't know. I think not. Okay. I think we're inside maybe. But, huh? I mean, if you. Yeah. Let everybody's walking. All right.
David,
Nice job. You'll leave that and then
I'll leave that's here, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll be in touch this week.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dan.
Shabbat shalom.
Yes, that's right.
Hello. Shabbat shalom.
So I know they're lighting candles somewhere. They're doing blessings somewhere, but I do not know where to highlight.
I don't know.
Oh, you're not. Yes.
Yeah, actually, I started using that one even during the pandemic because when we're trying to figure out through the month, we had another one.
Good Shabbos, everyone. I'm going to go on mute for just a second and see if I can find out anything.
Meantime, I'm going to let,
Yeah.
but I want to say good Shabbat. All of you.
Shalom, Gloria.
Careful not. Hey, so good to see you. Shabbat shalom. I know. Well, I'm just gonna get close and kiss you after. put it on.
Then I could kiss you.
Shabbat shalom.
So we can gather around and close to the distance if you want to be.
Shabbat shalom. Come on over. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Umevorach. Shabbat shalom. Umevorach.
All right. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we in our own days be among those who kindle light.
Ya la 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 la, 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 la la la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik neh v'tzivanu lehadlik neh v'tzivanu lehadlik neh shel Shabbat.
And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. The heaven and the earth were finished and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Vayir vayboker yom hashishi, vaychulu hashamayim v'haaretz, v'chol tzivav, vayechad Elohim bayom hashvi'i, melachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi'i, mikol melachto asher asa, vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i, vayikadesh oto, Kivo Shabbat mikol melachto, Kivo Shabbat mikol melachto, Asher bara, Asher bara, Asher bara, Elohim lasot. L'chaim, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, uyom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, Yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai kadesh Shabbat. Big Bob. Ready?
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei-avot.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. For those of you who are on Facebook or on the website or on YouTube, we say good night. For those of you on Zoom, you are welcome to stay for a moment and